I will try to use some images. In our time is more true than ever that an image is worth more than 1,000 words. Let's try. Well, this has been an exceptional year, and I will look back at what has kept us busy and to look forward to the month ahead, a view to the past and another to the future. First, why do we need a European Union foreign policy? The big strategic competition between US and China that will be the structuring factor of the 21st century. We, as European Union, we should shape up to be more realistic and ready to enter in the global arena. We cannot just rely on money and sanctions. As I said many times, and I am afraid that this will mark my mandate, we need to learn to use the language of power. Don't just speak about it, but to use it. And let me remind that the European Union is a political project, and we need to think in political terms. Before being geopolitical, one has to be first political. And I want to stress that the European Union is a political project. Let me move on the what. What should be the substantive priorities of our foreign policy? First, a world in transition. 2020 has been, as I said, a crazy year. It started with the French casualties in Mali, the murders of Soleimani, fighting in Libya, Turkish tension in the Eastern Mediterranean, and then suddenly the coronavirus erupted. Nobody was expecting, but here it is. Then came a lot of US-China tensions, exacerbated by the virus, a summer of crisis, Lebanon, Belarus, Venezuela, against Turkey, and lately the war in Caucasus and Ethiopia. Remember the sentence, "We take you home," that all of you have been using a lot when helping to bring back home 600,000 stranded Europeans around the world. Well, why this picture? We live in a world, the coronavirus with the world inside. We live in a world where corona is dominating everything. We are all exhausted by it, but we still have a long way to go. When the pandemic came, it got us by surprise. When the pandemic will end, the world will look very different. It will be 2021, I hope, but it will feel like as 10 years later, 2030. The world will be more Asian, more digital, more unequal among people inside the countries, among men and women, and among those that will have access to credit and those who don't have. The economic effects of the pandemic are at least as great as the health effects, especially in places like Africa. And we also know, and on that the science is clear, that the effects of climate change will be many times greater than the pandemic. And remember, for climate, there will never be a vaccine. Now we are looking for a vaccine for the virus, and it's going to be the solution. If we don't stop climate change, we will not find a vaccine for it. So we need to act now to prevent it from happening. And we need to act preventively. Here also we have to flatten the curve. We have to flatten the curve of emissions as much as we need to flatten the curve of contagions. And yet this will be hard, very hard. But the cost of inaction vastly outweighs the cost of action. And Green Deal is also our exit strategy towards a new growth model. Irene is perhaps small and is not a complete solution, for sure not, to the arms embargo control, but is a concrete way to help and to support peace. And believe me, it was not easy to launch. I am very happy that now it's operational, and it is an example of we Europeans can contribute to security. We became a security actor in the neighborhood. We play a full role in the multiple and linked security crises in our neighborhood and show up ceasefire in Libya that happily it seems now it's lasting. But not just about Libya. You have so many theaters where the European Union is required to act, Sahel and Ukraine. And for all this, we need capabilities. This is an example of how indispensable is our role. We own the diplomacy because we have the enlargement perspective. Without the enlargement perspective, our voice will be much less heard in the Balkans. Amid all the doom and gloom of 2020, these are very inspiring images from Minsk. Very inspiring images of the individuals and the crowd asking for democracy and refusing the elections being stalled by a dictator. We have seen the determined fight for democracy in face of a brutal repression for which they rightly won the Sakharov Prize. And we should, from our side, never forget the deep aspirations of people to fight for their rights and shake off dictatorship. And we have also saw and today recently see in Hong Kong and in other many places in the world. It's also a powerful example of women as change agents. As you know, we are about to launch the Gender Action Plan to push for this. But also, we need to work with Russia. We need to work with Russia. Based on a robust and principled stance, but we need to find ways to address the multiple aspects and challenges that Russia represents. It is a party in many conflicts in our shared neighborhood. Africa. Africa is a must strategic issue. We need to see Africa as a strategic issue, because Africa will have to choose which societal model they will follow. China is a partner, is a competitor, is a rival. This trilogy has become something that everybody repeats, and it's true. It's a partner, it's a competitor, and more, it's a rival. But the EU stance on China is shifting, mainly because China itself is changing. A growing military power and a major imbalance in our economic relationship and on market access. Our approach is still the triptych, no? Partner, competitor, and rival. But the relative weight among these three elements is changing. Cooperation on climate is essential. The pledge of carbon neutrality in 2060 is a big deal, but we also see other sides of China. With the election of Joe Biden, a welcome new chapter opens in front of us, and we have to make the most of it. Joe Biden has a long record as believer in partnership between US and EU. For sure, he will not say that we are a foe. So we welcome his commitment to working with democratic allies to real dialogue and partnership, etc. On climate, on Iran, on the world organizations, trade and health, a real shift can be expected. We need diplomacy 2.0, which means norm setting, working with like-minded people on cyber defense. Remember, norm setters, to be able to be the norm setter is very important, but we will not continue being the norm setters if we are not continue being the technological drivers. One goes with the other. And the power of norm setting is very important, we cannot lose it. Strategic autonomy. This is a key concept. It has been used a lot on recent days. It will be used more in the coming days. And we have to empower this concept. We are the most important representative of what strategic autonomy means. And I will put the debate about what it is on the forefront of the activities of the High Representative and the Vice President of the Commission. What is about? This is about our capacity to address threats and risk and managing vulnerabilities. It is about to make sure that we remain master of our future, our own future. Strategic autonomy and economic sovereignty have become dominant themes and are reflected in the 2021 Commission Work Programme on health, on climate, on digital, on the role of the euro. This long-term answer is to build a common strategic culture. We need it. We cannot pretend to have a foreign policy if we don't have a common strategic culture. To build it from the ground, we have to start for having it. Without it, the foreign policy will be always a weak construction. It will take time, but meanwhile, we must safeguard the ability for the European Union to act in dangerous world, also when member states are divided. And it will require an honest debate on qualified majority voting, not across the board, but in certain areas. We need to escape delays and paralysis that unanimity creates. Romano Prodi was saying the biggest enemy of Europe is not Russia, China, or Turkey, it's unanimity. And you have to keep that in mind. Team Europe. Team Europe. You have to repeat these words. This is a trademark. The pandemic has at least given us one good thing, a new concept, Team Europe, putting together the European Union member states and our common institutions, including financial institutions, pulling all together under one level. COVID finally made it happen. We discussed for years, and thanks to COVID, finally we have this level, Team Europe. This is a method, the right method, to build European Union influence, to build collective ownership, to be visible on the ground, the European flag together with the European Union member states. We need to apply this every time and everywhere and every occasion we have. We should be very proud and happy of the chance we have of belonging to this family, developing this job around the world, representing the European Union, the best combination of political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion that exists in the world. And this should be a strong motivation for all of us to continue engaging all hours of our life to fulfill this work.